student, welcome to the course of power generation system. Today we are going to start a new chapter that is related to solar power. First of all, we will go through some introduction related to this topic, that is solar power and renewable energy in general. Then we will go what is solar power, and then how solar power is generated from PV cells. So first of all, in introduction, that solar energy generation is one of the fast growing and most modern and promising renewable energy source of power generation worldwide. It is adopted, and we know that electrical energy become one of the basic and important needs in our daily life, and its demand is also increasing day by day. The fossil fuel used for the generation are depleting day by day, and its usage is also rises. Some serious environmental concern, mean it pollutes the environment. So that's the reason that we need some new sources of energy that are green, that not pollute the energy and not harmful for our health and environment. So one of it is the renewable energy sources that include winds, solar, water, biomass, and geothermal energy sources. Out of these sources, solar energy has the greatest potential in long term and is predicted to play a vital role in coming years. It's also the cheapest form of energy generation compared with other sources like winds, biomasses, and geothermal. Now, what is solar power? So, solar power is the conversion of sun radiation into electricity through the use of solar photovoltaic cells or PV cells. This process or this conversion in solar cell take place with the photovoltaic effect. According to many experts, the amount of energy, solar energy, reaching the earth is more than 10,000 times the current energy consumption by man. So the power created by solar is sufficient for 1 year for the entire planet. If we could convert the 100% of the solar energy into electricity in 1 hour, mean that when we have the ability to convert the solar energy into electrical energy for 1 hour with a 100% efficiency, it is sufficient for 1 year and for the entire planet. So that's why the solar power or the solar generation is so much important. There are two ways of converting sunlight into electricity. One or the first method is the solar energy is used simply as a source of heat. This heat is further used to produce the steam, and which drives the steam turbine, and this manner of power generation is called solar thermal power generation. The second matter is the solar energy is directly converted into electricity using PV or solar cell. As mentioned previously or above, the PV cell is made up with the silicon semiconductor materials. Meaning the second method mostly used or adopted worldwide. We use PV or solar cell, and this PV cell is made up of silicon semiconductor. How solar power is generated from PV cell is we have studied that solar energy is generated with the help of PV cell, or we can convert the solar energy into electrical energy with the help of PV cell, which is made up of semiconductor material, silicon. So a PV cell can be called as a solar cell, is a semiconductor device that converts the sunlight energy into electrical energy without going through any energy conversion steps. And this is done or take place by photovoltaic effect, and hence they are called photovoltaic cell. It generates voltage and current at its terminal when sunlight incident on it. The way and the amount of power generated by a solar cell depend upon the sunlight falling on it, and it also includes some factors such as the intensity of light, that there may be clouds, angle at which the light fall on it, I mean a different angle solar strike the PV cell, so it's also depend on this. And the area of the cell is large or small, depend upon the area. So the more is the power generated if we have all these factors. That is, if higher is the light intensity, the area of the cell is more, and the power generated it will be also more. So in this way solar power is generated. We use PV cell, and it has some factor that must be addressed, that is the intensity of light, angle at which the light fall, and the area of the cell. The solar cell are made up of semiconductor material silicon, and is treated with phosphorus and boron to make a thin silicon wafer. The wafer layer are then aligned together to make the solar cell. Once they are doped, and every solar cell has two terminals, that is positive and negative terminal, so as to take the electric current from it. The sunlight, that is the source of this energy, consists of bundles of photons, where each photon has some amount of energy, finite amount of energy. To generate the electricity from a solar cell, these photons must be absorbed by this solar cell. The energy of photon, we know that sunlight consists of a bundle of photon, and photon have a specified amount of finite amount of energy. So the energy of the photon and the band gap energy of semiconductor material decide the absorption of photons. Electronic volt, which is the unit of energy that expresses the photon energy and the band gap energy of the semiconductor materials. The semiconductor material of the solar panel absorbs the photon in the sunlight. Due to this, electron-hole pair are generated at the junctions. When the solar cell is connected to the load, or load is connected to the solar cell, electron and hole at the junction are separated from each other, where the electrons are collected at the negative terminals and holes at the positive terminal. So in this way, with the help of PV cell made up of semiconductor materials, absorb the photon in the sunlight, and due to electron hole pair, In electronic, we have electron, the negative carrier, and holes as a positive carrier. These are generated at the junction, and when we connect the load, electron and hole at the junction are separated from each other, where the electrons are collected at the negative terminal and hole at the positive terminal. Thus, the electric potential is built between the terminal, and hence voltage is developed. As on negative side we have electron, and positive side we have holes. So potential difference is created, or electric potential is built between the terminal, and hence the voltage is developed across it. This further drives the current DC to the DC load, inverter or battery charging circuit depend upon load. If more photons are observed, greater will be the current generated. More photon, more area of the cell, and more intensity of the light, so greater will be the current generated. However, much of the solar radiation fall on solar cell is not converted into electricity. So in this way we generate solar power from a PV cell, and solar energy is one of the main or an abundant source available in nature, and it is free available in nature, so we can convert it for usage purposes, that is sunlight photon into electricity. Thank you.